Hello, I'm Murray Newlands with Your Story here in San Francisco with Prakash. He has had great success. His startup started off very small and then actually got funding very fast, and he was able to take it public. Beyond that, he's had a number of other startups. He's now part of and an investor in a number of funds which invest in Silicon Valley, and he's also a philanthropist. So Prakash, thank you very much for being on the show. So tell us, what's your story?
Oh, thank you for having me here. My story. Well, I came to this country in 1972 to pursue my studies, and I got my undergrad, and I did my master's in University of Illinois in Chicago. Got my degrees in computers. My first job was in Houston, Texas, working for a pacemaker company. And then from there, I moved to Washington, D.C. area, worked for General Electric in their Space Systems division, designing electronics for Landsat satellites. In 1981, I said, well, I need to move to West Coast. That's where the action is. And that's when I moved to Bay Area, worked for a few companies. And then in 1985, I joined a startup company called Cirrus Logic. I was employee number 9, and when I left 9 years later, there were 2,500 people, and I was running a very large and profitable division. I started my first company, NeoMagic, in 1993. We had a great team of co-founders. We also had great investors, and we did quite well.
So with that process, tell us, how did it get started?
Well, I was in Cirrus Logic for about 9 years, and it was reaching to point, where it was not the same fun when we were so small and all of that. I was reaching to point where I was not learning anything new. I was not growing. I was kind of getting bored. And I said, this is time to move on and do something on my own.
What are the drivers for you as an individual? You obviously, to grow a company that big, to have the passion, the drive, to see it through rather than selling out. I'm sure there are lots of opportunities with that. What are the personal drivers for you?
Well, I always look at, creating a great company, not creating just a great product. Because a lot of people, they just look at it, either feature, which can be acquired, by a product company, or even a product, which could be acquired. And I always believe that, if you create a great company, if your focus is on creating a great company, exit-wise, you may get acquired or you may go public. That depends on, what market is willing to give you at that time. But my focus always been creating a great company.
And tell us, how did the company get started? How did you choose your first partners to become involved in it? And how did you get funding?
Sure. So, like I said, that I was in Cirrus Logic for 9 years, and that's where I met a lot of people within the company, outside of the company, and created a great rapport with them. And time to time, they'll say, hey, if you ever start a company, we want to be part of your company. So that way, I had, basically based on their interest level, pick and choose the right mix of talent. And one of the important things for NeoMagic was, we were like 5-6 co-founders, and we all were very good and unique expertise in our own domain. There was no overlap between these 5-6 co-founders. It was a dream team. And with that dream team, we had our first meeting with Kleiner Perkins, senior partner.
Who was that individual?
Jim Lally. And he is a great guy. We're still very good friends with each other. Now he lives in Hawaii most of the time. And so we had a lunch in Palo Alto. In 15 minutes, he had made up his mind that I like this team. I'm going to go with these guys. And then actually he started helping us how to take our pitch to his partners. So that was a big help.
Getting buy-in from one person who's an investor who believes in you.
Right.
And then other investors presumably followed. Who was after they were on board? Who was the next investor in?
Yeah, so also one of the person who I had met in Cirrus Logic was the interim president when I joined the company, named Cameron Elian. He's a great person, good friend, very close friend, and he had done few startups. So in a way, he was a mentor to us at that time. He had worked, with Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, so he was taking us to these companies, and that way we were able to kind of bypass. Otherwise, you have to go through some associates, then senior associate before you reach to the senior partner. Here, in the very first meeting, we were meeting with the senior partner, and he liked us, and then rest of this history. And same time, then Cameron said, oh, "Let's go and meet Sequoia people," and same thing happened there too. They just liked us from pretty much day one.
Getting backing from Sequoia and kind of that's an amazing start.
It's a dream team, yeah.
And then how fast did it grow? When did you get the next round of funding? What was your
Yeah, so we did about 3 rounds of funding.
Okay.
Total, we raised about $19 million. Company got started in summer of '93. We took company public in March of '97. And just to give you a kind of, so in '95 we did $200,000. In '96, we did $41 million. Was '97 we did 125, then 240, 250, and on. And actually, when I look at back, I wish our growth was not like that, more sequentially. Okay, because when we were doing like 240 million run rate, we had like in our chosen market close to 70% market share. And the Wall Street actually does not reward you what you they always look at what the growth, and then 70% say you have no more growth left here. Okay, so our stock price was actually lower when we announced a $60 million quarter. Okay, then we had a $15 million quarter.
That's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy, and then you look at back and say, but you really have no control.
Yeah.
Market accepts you.
If you hadn't have fulfilled it, a competitor would, and then it wouldn't have been the same as it was. What lessons would you like to pass on to others about that?
At NeoMagic, you always have your challenges from day to day, and you always hire some good people. Sometimes you do make mistakes, and I hired one person without checking any references because that person came through one of the board member. I said, if he's saying this person is good, and so lesson was learned, regardless who's referring to you, okay, you always have to do reference check. And so that was one big lesson. That was pretty painful, firing that person.
Yeah, firing them as well. If they come through a great reference, then getting rid of them is just as hard as easy it was to.
And then I had to go and face that board member. Why I fired this person.
They say it's the same with hiring someone who's a family member of someone who's an employee. It's easy to employ them. They can bring them in, and then if you have to fire them, do you have to fire both? How does a relationship work? It's always hard.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And like when the company had gone public, I had told all my close friends and family, okay, never ever trade NeoMagic stock.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want to be blamed.
Well, I mean, if you make money, no big deal. If you lose money, okay, all right, you're going to be pointing. So just stay out of
You lose money, and or your family lose money. Yes, very interesting lessons from that. And so. You've got this drive. You've sold the company. You IPO'd the company. What drives you now, and what are you focused on now?
Yeah, so I was with NeoMagic till 2005, and I retired in summer of 2005. And for about a year and a half, I just wanted to travel and understand more what's happening globally, and then to start another company started itching me again. So late 2006 I started another semiconductor company called ICOA. We had pretty good funding in that company too. We raised close to $19-20 million, and it's become very expensive to do a semiconductor company, and therefore the landscape is now that venture capitalists is not investing in semi anymore. So after doing 2 rounds of funding, we had to shut it down. So I shut that down in January 2011. So it's been about 3 years. I still feel very young, very energetic. I still believe that there's one more startup in me. When and where, I don't know right now, though I'm looking at few things. But in the meantime, for the last 3 years, I've been doing some philanthropy and mentoring some people. I'm on board of few companies. I'm on board of few nonprofit, and then I've been making few investments here and there.
What are the things that drive you personally? What are the things you look for in those startups or those nonprofits? What are the things that you care about?
Well, personally, what I care about, I mean, there are a lot of great causes, good causes. There are a lot of good ideas where I can add the most value and feel that I'm contributing to it, because I'm not meant for everything,
Yes.
and not everything is meant for me. So having that, match is very important, where I feel, yes, I am contributing.
So is it a particular type of, what types of startup have you got involved in, and what types of nonprofit have you got involved in?
So it's not so much, what kind I know. Actually, I have one company, I'm on board of. I'm helping. It's a healthy snacks company. Okay, and the experience which I have gained over time is more general management skills, having a little bit few more gray hairs. Okay, advising them what not to do. And so I have more experience in that rather than being just one application specific. Um, Sales and marketing strategies, business strategies, and what it turns out that most of them, actually, the core principles are still the same. Okay, and the way you get around to, because we all get very confused, is you just ask questions. Okay, general questions. Okay, and then entrepreneur, they themselves figure it out. Okay, okay, I know what you mean. And it's just that, I was talking to this person not too long ago. I'm just giving an example, not and saying that, oh, sometimes I feel very I'm unhappy that I'm not able to spend that much time with my kids or help them do and all of that. And I asked him, okay, well, I mean, if you do well, some ways, you would be helping your kids too. And think about it, when you're flying in the airline, and when the instructions are given, says, first you put the air mask on yourself before you put, any companion kid. Okay, so first you got to help yourself to be there before you really can help. And so stuff like that, people relate to it, and say, that's a great wisdom.
You were telling me also that you're in the planning stages of a project to help farmers in India. Tell us about that.
So yeah, so there is I mean, as you know, India is a diversified country, lots of rich people, but at the same time there are lots of poor people. I'm doing 2 projects in India right now. One has to do with the education on the e-learning side. Out of 1.3 billion population in India, there are about 450 million students under age 15, and maybe 10% of that 450 on pass high school. So you have close to 400 million students basically getting no education. So it's a serious problem. And there are not enough schools, there are not enough teachers. And we feel that the only way to really solve that problem over time is through e-learning, because through technology, because if we deploy and do effective implementation of technology, it can scale. So we're playing with that. The other one, there's a area, where I was born in, not exactly in that area, but neighborhood. It's a very neglected area, and one day, a couple of years back, I always wanted to do something in that area. I went and searched Google, who's the best NGOs in that area, and a few names popped up. And I contacted one of them and met with them. I really liked them, okay, the work they are doing. And basically, in this area, you have a large tribal population,
Yes.
very poor people. And what happened was that in the 80s, there was a law passed that, so most of these tribal poor people have been working for landlords as a bonded farmers, laborers.
Yeah.
And so there was a law passed that if you have been working for so many years for this particular landlord, that landlord is also supposed to give you a few acres of land so that it becomes yours.
Right.
Now, but law was never actually carried out by these landlords. So these NGOs, this NGO actually went after them, took them to court, and got these tribal people some land.
Fantastic.
But then what happened was that these landlords gave them the worst possible land, which had
No value, yes.
no value. You could not grow anything there. And so what this NGO has been doing is getting some grants and trying to make that land fertile by various meaningful techniques. So the model I'm looking at right now, the grants and all of that is good, but there are not enough grants to really solve the massive problems. So you need to find a sustainable business model. Yes. Where it basically runs on its own, so that you're not depending on the grants. So model here is that let's say you define a 10-acre unit land, mm-hmm. and say this is 1 unit, and these farmers who have no land or very little land, you say, all right, if you work on this land and use these techniques to do the farming, you pay the loan back, the loan used to purchase the land in 3-4 years, and then land becomes yours.
Right.
Okay, so this is a pilot, so here they have incentive to own the land.
Yes.
Okay, and as you know, coming from entrepreneurship and startups, incentives really do work. Whereas right now, okay, in order to take any money, borrow money from the bank, they have to put something on collateral. So then they really have risk of losing their land.
Yeah.
So if you just look at here, work hard so that you don't lose the land versus work hard so that you could own the new land, it's pretty impressive, encouraging model. So we're going to go and start working on that, and if that works, which I think it should work, all the numbers we have done, then we can go for large loans and just deploy in a big way.
And if you're able to raise funds globally, the interest rate you get will be very low, and so and presumably the land is not that expensive, so potentially it scales.
So you go in the areas where there's nothing, if there's nothing there, lands would be cheap. And of course, you don't want to buy the land in the urban areas because that will take 20 years to pay it back.
Very interesting. And what types of startups are you looking to advise or work with?
Yeah, so like I mentioned that I'm working with one company which is in healthy snacks, mm-hmm. It's based on vegetable protein, cereals, and snack bars. They're in a still very early stage. There's another company I'm working with in India on a board office. They're providing financing to schools, so has to do this e-learning project which I've been involved. And it's a microfinancing based formula where you go to these small school owners and say, all right, you need to expand your operation, you need to add a few more classrooms, here's a loan for $50,000. Right. Okay, so I'm working with that company.
And are you looking to work with companies in India as well as America, or
everywhere?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
If people want to find out more and connect with you, how do they do that? What's your email address?
Well, my name is Prakash Agarwal. You can email me to Prakash, Prakash, 94105 @gmail.com.
Prakash, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Sure. Thank you.
Here with your story in San Francisco. I'll see you next time.